to our tale. One market night, Tam get planted very right, fast by a fireplace, blazing finely, with reaming swats that drank divinely, and at his elbow, cobbler Johnny, his ancient, trusty, thirsty crony. Tam loved him like a very brother. They'd been fou for weeks together. The night drove on with songs and clatter, and Irie ale was growing better. The landlady and Tam grew gracious, with secret favours, sweet and precious. The cobbler told his queerest stories. The landlord's laugh was ready chorus. The storm without might roar and rustle. Tam didn't mind the storm a whistle. Caved, mad to see a man say happy, even drooning himself among the nappy. As bees fly home with loads of treasure, the minutes winged their way with pleasure. Kings may be blessed, but Tam was glorious, over all the ills of life victorious. But pleasures are like poppies spread. You seize the flower, its bloom is shed. Or like the snow falls in the river, a moment white, then melts forever. Or like the borealis race that flit ere you can point your place. Or like the rainbow's lovely form, vanishing amid the storm. No man can tether time nor tide. The hour approaches, Tam must ride. That hour of night black arch the keystone, and such a night he takes his beast in, as ne'er poor sinner was abroad in. The wind blew as 'twould blown its last, the rattling showers rose on the blast, the speedy gleams the darkness swallowed, loud, deep and long the thunder bellowed. That night a child might understand the devil had business on his hand. Well mounted on his grey mare Meg, a better never lifted leg, Tam skelped on through dub and mire, despising wind and rain and fire, while holding fast his git blue bonnet whilst crooning some old Scots sonnet, whilst glowering round with prudent care lest bubbles catch him unaware. Camp Alloway was drawing nigh, where ghosts and hoolits nightly cry. By this time he was crossed the ford, where in the snow the chapman smothered, and past the burnt and muckle stone, where drunken Charlie broke his neck bone, and near the thorn above the well, where Mungo's mother hanged herself. Before him River Doon pours all her floods, the doubling storm roars from the woods, the lightnings flash from pole to pole, near and more near the thunders roll, when glimmering through the groaning trees, Camp Alloway was in a blaze. Through every beam the boars were glancing, and loud resounded mirth and dancing. Inspiring bold John Barleycorn, what dangers thou canst make us scorn. With Tuppenny, we'll fear no evil. With Usky Bay, we'll face the devil. The swat say reamed in Tammy's noddle, fair play card named devil's a bottle. But Maggie stood right sore astonished till by the heel and hand admonished she ventured forward in the light, and lo, Tam saw an eerie sight. Warlocks and witches in a dance, no cotillon brand new from France, but hornpipes, jigs, their spays and reels put life and metal in their heels. A window bunker in the east there sat, all knit in shape of beast, a towsy type, black, grim and large. To give the music was his charge. He screwed the pipes and made them skittle, till roof and rafters all did diddle. Coffins stood round in open presses, and by some devilish cantrap sleight, each in its cold hand held a light, by which heroic Tam was able to note upon the haly table a murderer's bones and gibbered irons, 2 span-long wee and christened bairns, a thief new cutted fair rope with his last gasp his gap did gape, 5 tomahawks with blood red rusted, 5 scimitars with murder crusted, a garter which a babe had strangled, a knife a father's throat had mangled, whom his own son of life bereft, some grey hairs still stuck to the heft, with mair a horrible and awful, which even to name would be unlawful. But Tammy glowered, amazed and curious. The mirth and fun grew fast and furious. The dancers quick and quicker flew, the piper loud and louder blew. They danced, they reeled, they set, they creaked, till every witch was sweating and reeking. Then they cast their duddies on the wag, and then went at it in their sacks. Now Tam, oh Tam, had they been queens, all plump and strapping in their teens, their stark instead of greasy flannin be 1700 snow white linen. Oh, these breeks of mine, my only pair, they're once plush with a good blue hair. I got taken them off my hearties for one blink of the bonny parties. But withered beldams, old and droll, rigwoody hags would speen a foal, a louping and a flinging and a crummet. I wanted in a darn nice town. But Tam knew what was what full broadly. There was one winsome wench in Whalley that night enlisted in the corps, long after known on Carrick shore, for many a beast indeed she shot, and perished many a bonny boat, and shoot big muckle corn and beer. She kept the countryside in fear. Her Kitty Sark of Paisley Harm, the while a lassie she had worn, in longitude though sorely scanty, it was her best, and she was vain too. Little knew her reverend granny that sark she bought for her wee nanny, with £2 Scots, 'twas all her riches, would ever grace this dance of witches. But hear my muse, her wingman cour, to sing how Nanny lap her flang, a supple girl she was and strong. Even Tam stood with his eyes, thought his eyes enriched. Even Satan glowered and fished, full fain and hotched and blue with white and mane, till first one caper, then another. Tam lost his reason altogether, and he roars out, "Well done, Kitty Sarks!" And in an instant, all was dark. Now, scarcely had he Maggie rallied when out the hellish legion sallied, as bees bizz out with angry fight when plundering herds assail their bite. As little kittens, mortal foesmen, pop, he start before their nose, as eager runs the market crowd when "Catch that thief!" resounds aloud. So Maggie runs, the witches follow with many an eldritch screech and hollow. Ah Tam, they'll get thy faring, in hell they'll roast thee like a herring. In vain thy Kate awaits thy coming, Kate soon will be a woeful woman. Now do thy speedy utmost, Meg, and when the keystone of the brig, they rather that I tell me toss a running stream they dare not cross. But ere the keystone she could make, the hint of tail she had to shake, for Nanny, far before the rest, hard upon double Maggie pressed, and flew at Tam with furious ettle. Little was she Maggie's mettle, one spring brought off her master hale, but left behind her ain grey tail. The witch had caught her by the rump, and let poor Maggie scarce a stump. Now, who this tale of truth shall read, each man and mother's son, take heed. Whene'er to drink you are inclined, or Kitty Sarks will run in your mind, think. You may buy the joys hour dear. Remember, Tam O'Shanter's mare.
Our speaker this evening was born and raised in Rockford. Graduated from Boylan High School in 1987, graduated from Notre Dame magna cum laude in 91, and received his law degree from the University of Illinois in 1995. He began his law career in Chicago before returning to Rockford in 1997 to practice in the family firm Morrissey Law Offices. He was elected mayor of Rockford in April of 2005 after running as an independent. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce the mayor of Rockford, Mr. Larry Morrissey.
Good evening. It's my great pleasure to be here this evening, and what a wonderful evening this is. I've got to tell you, I had to do a little bit of research tonight in preparation for this evening, and one of the things I found out is that the traditional immortal memory speech memorializing Robert Burns is short. So I will try to do my best in keeping with tradition and provide you some reflections on Robert Burns. Dear friends, it is indeed my great pleasure to join you in this celebration of Scotland's greatest poet, Robert Burns. For some 200 years, Robert Burns dinners have celebrated the richness of the life of this great man, his poetry, in Scottish culture. And we continue those traditions here tonight for Rockford's 149th annual Burns Banquet. Now, the Rockford Club, as you all know, is the oldest of Rockford's many great ethnic societies, which is saying quite a lot. And by your continual celebration of Robert Burns through celebrations like tonight, you have set the mark by which our great cultures and heritage societies of Rockford are measured. And to that, I must say, congratulations. Now, you might wonder, why is it that an Irish Italian-American like myself is addressing you this evening? Well, the short answer is, I was asked to do so. But I must tell you that while I was a bit surprised that I would be asked to speak to this great and noble congregation, I jumped at the chance to do so. You see, I'm the mayor of Rockford, Illinois, and right now I think this city could use a good old dose of Robert Burns. I think the Robert Burns Banquet captures much of Rockford's past and celebrates our great culture, heritage, and traditions. Robert Burns was a man who loved life, who valued great friendship, and created great songs and poetry. And by his great works, he has helped bind together his country, and indeed bind each of us here this evening. By celebrating Robert Burns, we create our connections to the past, we create our connections to one another, and these are the very types of connections that help communities to move forward. Our community, Rockford, Illinois, has been going through a transition for many years. We've seen local businesses struggle to adapt to a changing world. We've seen problems rise with education, with crime, and with poverty. And we have had, like most people have had in most places, plenty of challenges. But the biggest challenge this community has faced has not been any lack of external resources or abilities. In fact, we have a great community with great people and great resources. No, our biggest challenge has been an internal struggle. We struggle at times with a lack of faith, with a lack of trust, and with a lack of hope in one another. This community has far too often been paralyzed by a fear of failure, fear of change, and even a fear of our past. I hear almost daily people who say, well, Mayor, we voted for you for change, but whatever you do, don't change that. And you can fill in the blank. I hear almost daily people say, yes, we would like to believe that such and such would be a success, or that strategy may succeed, but what if it doesn't? What if we fail? And can we trust you? Well, please tell me, what great things done by any man, woman, or child have been done out of fear? Not many. If we are to do great things, we must move beyond fear. And that's why tonight is so important. That's why this evening is extremely important. Nights like tonight, celebrating Robert Burns, remind us of a man who was a poet for the commoner. A poet who came at a moment in history when he was needed, and who left behind a legacy that continues to be the dose of medicine that we need. Nights like tonight spread the glue of the great traditions that bind us to one another. And when we can grow together, our community confidence can also grow. We need to know one another. We need to learn from one another so that we can grow and trust each other. Now, the greatest sports teams, the greatest armies, and indeed the greatest communities have one thing in common. They succeed because of their faith and trust in each other. Those things, trust and fear, that's what conquers trust and faith. Those things conquer fear. And that is what we need to take new bold steps. That's what this community needs. You see, all we have is each other, but that is enough. We can do great things, but we must work together. And so my hope, my prayer with you tonight as we celebrate the great Scottish traditions and as we celebrate the great spirit of Robert Burns, my prayer is that we may be strengthened by our cultural connections, that we may be encouraged by our historic foundations, and that we may move forward with faith, not fear, with hope, not despair, and with trust in one another. And I might add one small point. As I did my research on Robert Burns, do you know how old he was when he passed from this great life? A mere 37 years old. Now I noted that particularly because that happens to be my age, 37 years old. And I want to, I assure you, live many more years on this great planet. But I think the point is this. When you hear people say, well, you're moving too fast, slow down. Too much, too fast, Mayor. Remember this, we know not the hour nor the day. And may we leave this planet with the same sort of love and fellowship that Robert Burns had. To do so means that we must live each and every day. And so tonight I offer you a toast to the immortal memory of Robert Burns. And I ask that you raise your glasses, each and every one of us. And our toast is to the immortal memory of Robert Burns. May that memory fill us with love and happiness, courage and hope. May God bless you all. Good night. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Thank you, Mayor Morrissey. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the pipes and drums of the Clan McAlpine Bagpipe Band. This time we'd like to introduce the members of the Clan McAlpine Bagpipe Band. We ask that you please hold your applause until all have been introduced. Pipe Major Derek Shirley.
Pipes are coming.
Pipers Ken Ring,
You have to wait. See the pictures right there.
Dennis McCauley,
See the picture. You can't touch the cane.
Patrick Powers,
Touch the cane.
Greg Long, Nancy Lang, Rich Hayes, and Joe Walker. Drum Major Tom Weir, drummers Jeff Whitman, Steve McDougall,
Didn't sleepy.
and Scott Whitman. Thank you.
Here you go. Pipes. Pipes again. Pipes again. Here they go.
To present this evening's banquet. I'd also like to thank those individuals who worked with all on the many preparations for this evening's banquet. And a special thanks to each of you for coming this evening. We hope you enjoy the banquet, and we look forward to seeing you all back again next year for our 150th banquet celebration. One thing I missed, I'd like to wish Les a happy birthday. One last reminder, please do not forget the annual general meeting to be held Tuesday, February 20th, right here at Tebala Temple at 7 p.m. All are welcome. We will be electing officers and directors for the coming year. The band will play through Old Lang Syne once, and then we will join in singing as we close.